The fight guy is back. He just finished cutting weight. Ready for this weekend in Mexico City. I went to Starbucks and I asked for a large cold brew. And the lady says, "Do you want an extra large cold brew?" Now they have some sort of different language over there, sizing. But what man asks for a large of literally anything? I can't think of where this doesn't apply. Is presented with the opportunity for an extra large and says no. You can't. No, you can't. You have to say yes. It's just you have to say yes. But anyways, I got my Certa, whatever the heck they call it. Just finished cutting weight for Mexico City. On point, made weight. Very good. Now, the only thing left to do is to fill you guys in on what's going to happen this weekend in Mexico City and wait for my oxygen deprivation mask to come through Amazon in the mail because I want to sit on my couch and drink beer and simulate the conditions. I've been starving myself all week to make weight. Now, just need to wait for the oxygen deprivation mask to come in to simulate the elevation in Mexico City. And then I'm ready. And then the fight guy's ready to go. So let's start this. Let's start this off here. Claudio Puelles. Last week, I made the point, don't bet on Michel Pereira. Saw this guy in Rochester. I did some research on him. I saw him firsthand. He's a fool. He cried all the way to the octagon. We had the whole thing where what a ref would do if you're like, "Are you ready?" And this guy's profusely crying. Anyways, I think that might be a theme because this weekend I've been hearing a lot of people think this is a sure bet, and it's like a minus 260 favorite or something. And people are throwing it in parlays, and I wouldn't do it. And I guess, I don't know what I'm going to call it or whatever. I guess people call things like the lock of the month or something. Or I don't know. But don't bet on this Claudio Puelles guy. Don't do it. I'm not telling you to bet on the other guy. But there's a reason why these guys are favorites. And it feels good when you bet on a 260 guy, minus 260, and they win. But when you lose, you realize that there's a reason why you're putting a lot up there. Let me tell you why. This guy fought Felipe Silva. Well, first of all, he fought Martin Bravo. Now, he was part of the Ultimate Fighter, and this was like some sort of culmination fight to that. He cut weight like 4 times in a short period of time. He gassed in this fight in the second rounds, and he lost to like double left hook shots. Martin Bravo's actually on this card too. I give him a pass for gassing because he cut weight so many times, and Martin Bravo was fighting at 145 pounds for this. And this card is actually Bravo went down. I'm trying to say it's more. He didn't have to cut weight, so he had an advantage. Didn't have to cut weight. What did I want to say? So the next fight, Felipe Silva fought. Yeah, Felipe Silva. He fought Maribek Taisumov. Now Maribek Taisumov got popped with steroids before the Abu Dhabi card. He had like a 6-month suspension or something. So in this fight, he must have been on the steroids, or this is the fight where he was caught with steroids or something. Felipe Silva struck with Maribek Taisumov. Now, Maribek Taisumov is an elite martial artist, especially in the striking. And he got knocked out violently in the first round, but he was willing to. He had confidence in his striking abilities. He did the same thing in this fight. He outstruck our boy here, the Peruvian guy, Puelles. What's his name? What is his name here? Claudio. Oh yeah, El Nino Puelles. And he hurt him bad. This fight should have been stopped a lot of times. So let me tell you why what's his name? Marcos Moreno is not a good bet. He came in the octagon against Lando Venata for his UFC debut. Could possibly have been in short notice. I don't know. But the problem is, if you can't wrestle, you can't fight. And he can't wrestle, and he looked like a fish out of water when Lando Venata put him on his back. At one point, Lando Venata was like just posturing up, and he was just hanging out down there, just like woods, trying to avoid like the punch or something. It was weird. So he has a very big deficiency in his jiu-jitsu game, and his wrestling is not good. He's this very tall, long-legged, thin chicken legs, thin legs, and he's a kickboxer. He has long reach, and he's a kickboxer. He can't wrestle, can't jiu-jitsu, but that's why people are saying Claudio Puelles is going to cut through him like butter, take him down, and cut through him like butter. Let me tell you why that's not a good thing to bet on. Because Claudio Puelles in his first round, first of all, he has a double history of gassing, so he's not getting credit for. He's not getting 2 passes. He gassed out in both these fights. Now, the second one could have been, most recent fight, could have been concussion issues because he got hurt a lot in that fight. But you know what? If it looks like a rat, smells like a rat, it's probably a rat. So this guy, he has cardio issues. Now, this fight's in Mexico City, where he trains in Peru is sea level. I don't know. He's got cardio issues, 1. That's one red flag. The second red flag is in that Felipe Silva fight, he put Silva on his back. I forget how he got there, but wrestling is a part of his game, and he put him on his back. Good move, right? First round, guy's on his back. You're in top position. Do something. He went like this. He covered up like a turtle. And my point is, watch that Felipe Silva fight and tell me what part of that fight gives you confidence that Claudio Puelles is just going to cut through this guy like butter. 1, everyone's established that this Marco Moreno guy knows Anderson Silva. Now, if you want to get better at jiu-jitsu and you're Brazilian, I don't think there's a single, maybe the Gracies, but I don't think there's a single better person to know and be close with. So who's to say Moreno isn't going to have a much better jiu-jitsu game in this fight? And who's to say he hasn't worked on his wrestling? Because I'll tell you what, it's not like Puelles is Frankie Edgar here. Puelles also isn't good. He's not like this guy who's just going to, Damian Maia, who's just going to cut through someone. And if you want to, what is it, minus 280 or something, that betting on this guy, everyone's like, oh, he's got a strength weakness deficiency here. There is on tape. But there's a lot of unknowns, and I'm not paying that price for it. I'm not putting him in parlays. Just stay away from that guy. I'm telling you, don't bet on this guy. All right, so let's move on. I think I got my opinion squared away there. All right, so we have Sijara Eubanks. Now, I saw Sijara Eubanks in Rochester against Aspen Ladd. Sijara Eubanks has a history of not making weight. She fought Roxanne Modafferi, and then she blamed it on her period, and she blamed everything, something about she can't make on. She had kidney failure or something. When I looked at Uriah Hall, you don't want to Google someone's name and see kidney failure, heart attack, liver, I don't know. She can't make to 125, so she went up to 135 pounds. She fought Aspen Ladd in Rochester, and in the first round, I think at least one time, she ripped her off the ground and slammed her to the ground, and she was on top of her. She has a legitimate black belt in jiu-jitsu, and she's a problem on the ground. Aspen Ladd also is very good on the ground, so it wasn't a real issue for her. Aspen Ladd beyond Aspen Ladd needing to win the last 2 rounds. But she has sharp striking, especially with her hands. She can Jessica Andrade you to the ground with just, Popeyes, and she very well may do that in this fight. She is fighting a girl who missed weight last time. I forget her name. Bethe Carrera. Bethe Carrera is a huge lady, giant, her butt is huge. It's a lot, normally I would think a lot of power comes from the butt. But it's just not. She's 35 years old. She's on her way out. I don't remember the last time she's won a fight. Let me just look through her thing here. She beat Jessica I by a split decision. Lost to Pennington. Lost to Rousey. She got head kicked by Holly Holm. The Irene Aldana fight. in the Irene Aldana fight, like what she wants to do, she is a compact fighter. She's a compact fighter that wants to move ahead, put her head down, and crash forward with punches. That is when she's at her best, actually, is when she gets in there and crashes forward with punches and it puts pressure on Sijara Eubanks. You want to put pressure on her. That's how she's going to win, is making Sijara tired. I also think Sijara has come out to Mexico City early to acclimate to the elevation. So she has that for her. I don't think that's an issue with. I don't think that's something Bethe has done. But I just don't. I don't see her. She's on her way out. She's out of shape. She missed weight last time by 4 pounds. She made weight today, but I just don't see it. I think Sijara Eubanks is a perfect lock, or whatever you want to call it, like a sombrero. I don't know, like the fight guy's sombrero. Maybe that's what we'll call it. I would. She is pricey to bet. I would throw her in a parlay. I personally threw her in a parlay with one other fighter later today. There's actually a 3 parlay, but I'll get into it. Anyways, parlay piece. This is Sijara Eubanks parlay piece. She's gonna win this fight, probably by decision. Is there anything else? I don't want to not say anything. Sijara is better on the feet. She's crisp striking. Does she have a reach advantage? Because they're boxing 64. She does have a reach advantage. It's smaller. It's gonna be. Sijara's gonna win this fight. I put that in my thing. All right. Oh God, I hate this fight. Whenever you start thinking about Paul Craig's striking advantage, it's just like I just been trying to figure out who's gonna win this fight. And I'll tell you my conclusions, but I hate this fight. This Vinicius Moreira guy got knocked out by Eric Anders, who I like. I'm a big Eric Anders guy. Just like love. I want him to go to 185 pounds, and I kind of want to see what he does there, but I don't know. That's just me. And then Alonzo Menafield. I think both guys got knocked out by Alonzo Menafield. So those were his 2 UFC fights. Now he also had it's like a Dana White's Contender Series Latin America or something. Brazil. He fought John Allen. And he submitted him, I believe, triangle choke. Yeah, because he put this guy in an armbar for an uncomfortable amount of time with an uncomfortable amount of hyperextension. But one thing that he got hit in that fight. He got rocked in that fight. In Dana White's Contender Series Brazil edition, this dude got rocked by Jonathan Allen before he submitted him. And props to Jonathan Allen, because he did not want to tap. You know what? Guy didn't want to lose, so props to him. But he's basically a jiu-jitsu player, but he's awful in the stand-up. Now we have Paul Craig, and if you look through his tapology here, his UFC debut, he won versus a guy named Da Silva by armbar. Then he lost to Pedro. He lost to Roundtree. He beat Magomed Ankalaev by a Hail Mary, 1 second on the clock, triangle. And Ankalaev is one of those Dagestani guys, and the look that his corner gave him after he quit with 1 second left is just, go back and watch it. But anyways, the moral of the story is it's not a repeatable thing. Like, this Magomed dude beats this guy beats Paul Craig except for this one time. Probably 99 out of 100 times he beats him. But he had a miracle submission. Then he got submitted by Jimmy Crute, which Jimmy Crute was sweeping him on the ground. Like, Jimmy Crute I do believe he has a legit black belt. I don't know if it's black belt, but anyways, Jimmy Crute's good on the ground, so. And Kennedy Nchekwu is a guy who is a Nigerian guy, very long, very striking. He likes to strike, no jiu-jitsu. He put him in there with a guy so he can learn against Paul Craig. Paul Craig submitted him. And then Alonzo Menafield. So, like, at no point in Paul Craig's career, did he have like a dominating win or like, oh, Paul Craig's better than this guy? Like, I don't know. And the fact that I'm thinking about Paul Craig winning this fight because of his striking is appalling to me. But I think Paul Craig loses this fight. I'm not betting on it. I don't even want to watch it. Ben Askren in Singapore versus Damian Maia, like, I'm excited for it. You know what? But, like, this, it can't get excited. Like, the Mexico card's not a great card, but at least put some exciting fights together because I hate this fight. Anyways, don't bet on this one. This is a stupid fight. I do think this guy's got a tattoo on his chest. Like, it looks like a real, like, Slavic or, like, Soviet, like, tattoo. And I'm like, oh, my God, what is that? And then it has, like, the worst. It's like, this is a really hard tattoo. This is a hard dude. And it's like jiu-jitsu style. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of that fight. All right, now we got Sergio Pettis versus this Tyson Nash guy. Tyson, what's his name? Tyson Now, Sergio Pettis, there's a couple things I want to say about this fight. Sergio Pettis has fought 5 rounds at least once, but Sergio Pettis has fought 5 rounds against Brendan Moreno in Mexico City. People want to talk about the elevation. I'm getting a deprivation max so I can simulate the elevation when I watch the fights. So it's just what the fight guy does, you know? He's got to watch the fights with the oxygen deprivation max. If we go to Colorado, I got it. All right. So Sergio Pettis is at Rufus Sports in Milwaukee. Obviously, Anthony Pettis' brother. He's getting fantastic training. Very well schooled. And he has fought Benavidez. He beat Joseph Benavidez, and then the other guy, like Formiga. And those are 2 elite 125 pounders, like the best in the world. Then I think there was an issue with like Dana White closing down 125 pounds. So I think he went up to 135 pounds and he fought Rob Font, and there was just a massive size disadvantage in that fight. And one thing I want to say is, in the past, there's been a theme with Sergio Pettis that he's been working on his wrestling. In that Joseph Benavidez fight, he had tremendous takedown defense. Formiga got him down, but you keep seeing this theme. In the Rob Font fight, his corner's like, Sergio, trust your wrestling, which was not bad advice. He has made a cognitive decision, an intentional decision to get better at his wrestling, and it is shown in his fights. He did have some success in that Rob Font fight wrestling. I say that because, well, I guess we'll talk about this other guy. Anything else I want to say about Sergio Pettis? Henry Cejudo. Brendan Moreno. Yeah, he's fought in Mexico City. That is something that's significant. Now, if you Google Tyson Nam, on Google, what will show up is, I can't believe I'm not in the UFC yet. This is long overdue. I should have been in the UFC earlier. I beat this guy who was the Bellator champion at one time. I beat this guy who did something in mixed martial arts. And I'm here to tell you, one time in high school, I was the captain of the high school hockey team, and I scored 3 goals against Skinny Atlas. Well, now I can't run up the hill without thinking about quitting for my exercise. So, like, who cares, dude? Like, who cares? You beat this one dude. The last 2 fights took place in a cafeteria. Sergio Pettis is fighting the best in the world. I don't know. Anyways. I do want to make that point, though. Sergio Pettis is fighting the best in the world. Joseph Benavidez, Formiga, he went up a weight class. And this dude, Tyson Nam, his last fight, he got rocked by this dude, Shojun Mickey, in the first round. And also, like, these fights are taking place in a Hawaiian cafeteria. So, like, there is a difference in the level of competition and the level of training. This guy's 35 years old, and he's like, "Oh, it might be too late. And I can't believe my opportunity came when at this point in my career." Again, scored 3 goals against Skinny Atlas, had a hat trick, and we finally beat them. So whoop-de-doo. Now I can't run up the hill. One thing I want to say is this guy made weight, and he is big. And the other point I want to make is this guy also is big for the weight class and took this fight on short notice. I believe someone bailed in this fight. I think, was it for I don't know. It doesn't matter. This guy's taking the fight on short notice in Mexico City. Mexico City is a thing. I remember watching Joe Sakic and the Colorado Avalanche. My father was a big Detroit Red Wings fan at the time. And he would always say, and he was a big skier, so he spent time in Aspen. He's like, the air is thin up there. The air is thin up there. When you go to Colorado, the air is thin. Mile High Stadium, my buddy played a sporting event there, and above the guest locker room, they say 5,000 feet above sea level to psych you out. So this Mexico City elevation is a thing. Now, Sergio Pettis has a history of fighting a 5-round fight and not losing exactly. He won. He beat this Brendan Moreno guy. But he fought 5 rounds, and whatever his preparation is, he has done this before. He knows what to expect. This other guy is talking about, like, oh, it might be too late for me. He's taking the fight on short notice. He's a big guy that cut weight, made weight. Good for him. But here's my thoughts on this. So I see a lot of people saying this what's his name? Tyson Nam. He's got a right hand. He does. This guy has a right hand. Sergio Pettis, I think, is going to use his wrestling and is going to take this guy down as his intentional approach to this fight. Sergio Pettis knows what to expect in Mexico City. And I think he's going to make this Tyson Nam guy tired. And I think there could be a 3rd-round submission in this fight. I'm not saying I looked into this fight stylistically and said Sergio Pettis, he's an excellent jiu-jitsu player on the ground. Sergio Pettis, I have not seen much jiu-jitsu from him on the ground. I know he's been working on his wrestling, and his wrestling has gotten better. I do think this Nam guy will have a size advantage. And to me, it makes sense to, at the very least, try the wrestling. And I think he's going to have success with it because I haven't seen Nam fight off of his. I haven't seen Nam, stuff takedowns. And again, Mexico City elevation. I put a prop bet in there. Third round submission finish. I don't think that's unreasonable. But we'll see what happens. I just to keep myself interested in the fight. I'm not dying on a hill for this. But, yeah. All right. The next fight, we have Angela Hill. We have Angela Hill fighting Ariane Carnelossi. This is interesting here. Angela Hill does not have a good track record when it comes to cardio, when it comes to, well, basically cardio. Now, I watched her fight against this Chinese lady, Yan, and Dominic Cruz was commentating the fight. Dominic Cruz is a teammate of Angela Hill. Now, he made this generic comment of, like, Angela Hill has the skills to be a world champion. Like, that generic comment, like, this woman has the potential to be a world champion. But he caveated it by saying, a lot of fighters have the skills to be a world champion, but they do not put the work in. They do not show up to the gym with the same effort on a day-to-day basis to have the consistency to be a world champion, which is probably, I don't know, reasonable, whatever. To me, I took that as Angela Hill is kind of like here, there. She's not working hard. She's working hard. Angela Hill went down to Mexico City a long time before the fight. I don't know how long, but she's with that Alliance MMA group with Jeremy Stevens, and she went down there, and hey, everything our Instagram shows her doing the right stuff. She's down there working in Mexico City, getting acclimated to the climate, the elevation. I take that as a good sign. Now, again, I'm going, this recommendation, or not recommendation, what I did, is I put a bet that she wins this fight in the third round because it's dumb. Why would you bet on Angela Hill winning a fight in the third round with massive cardio issues in Mexico City? Don't do that. But I'm just telling you what I did because I want to be interested in the fight, and I don't really, I like being interested in the fight. I shouldn't gamble to make money. No one's going to make money from this. Now, this other girl. I watched her fight. Ketlin Souza, she won by a body kick in the third round. It wasn't a very good body kick. She is jacked. She kind of reminds you of Jessica Andrade, where she's just got this, like, muscular build. Like, she is muscular. This girl is huge. And she has some sort of affiliation with Amanda Nunes. I don't know. She's got, like, Amanda Nunes has this, like, she's, like, tight with, like, Tisha Torres and, like, the Pennington girl, Raquel Pennington, and there's this, it's got, like, this, like, lesbian, like, UFC, or, like, MMA group. I don't know. Anyways, last night on her Instagram, this girl is showing that she made weight. This girl's showing that she made weight at midnight or whatever before she went to bed, or like 9 o'clock, whatever. And she's sitting there in shorts, like fight shorts. She's walking to the scale. She's topless. Just topless. Just no shirt on. Now, that's weird as it is. Now, I don't even know if this has any impact on the fight. It's just weird and I want to talk about it. She has 9 male members of her team in the room with her, just topless. Just not even like, just topless. Nothing. And it was just weird. I don't know why you would do that. Like, I don't know. If you're on weight. She wanted to show everyone she's made weight. Because I think she did take this fight on the short notice. She wanted to show someone she made weight. Well, she did. She weighed in at 112 pounds today. I'm not, my spidey sense on this girl is just kind of like, something's wrong. Something is wrong. Why would you cut weight to 112 pounds? I don't know. Like, I don't know. Anyways, she took this fight on short notice. Angela Hill, I believe that she's doing all the right things. This girl's too muscular to last 3 rounds in Mexico City. I think there's going to be, if Angela Hill put the work in and her cardio is going to be better, she might outbox this girl on the feet in the third round. Basically all fight. And if she can last 3 rounds, I think she stops this girl in the third round. That's one narrative that I made a bet on. It's, again, not smart. Don't do it. Why would anyone ever bet on Angela Hill's cardio in Mexico City? Just don't do that. I'm just telling you my reasoning. But yeah, pass on that fight. Paulo Reyes. Oh my god. This fight is so... I've been so confused over this fight. I told myself I was going to watch weigh-ins because both these guys are cutting down to 145 pounds from 155, and I think it's a horrible... Well, not a horrible decision. I just think it's a dramatic, elaborate, extreme decision to do. And I was trying to figure out, basically, which guy was going to get knocked out in the first round. And I watched the weigh-ins, and this Nelson guy, he looked worse. He did the muscle. he did the muscle flex, and his arms are shaking. This guy looked worse. Now, I guess let's talk about Kyle Nelson. He fought Diego Ferreira. He came into the UFC. I think that was a short notice fight, and he looked big for 155 pounds. He rocked Diego Ferreira in the first round. Caught him. Unfortunately, the fight went to the ground, and Diego Ferreira is one of those. Diego Ferreira is one of those jiu-jitsu wizards, and I forget how he submitted him. I don't know, but looks like ground and pound. But the foundation was he probably found full mount. He just worked him in the round. Now, his next fight against Matt Sales. He cut down. Apparently, he fights at 145 pounds. He looks awful at 145 pounds. And he looked awful today at the weigh-in. He looked worse. Sometimes I didn't expect to see anything, but I saw something. I saw him shake. I thought like he had history at 145 pounds. He was ready for it. he looked very bad at the, not very bad, but he did not look good. It was not impressive at the weigh-ins. Now, in the sales fight, he gassed after the first round, and he quit in the third. His cardio was awful. At the very best, you can only count on Kyle Nelson. Same Kyle, right? You can only count on Kyle to go one round. Now, the question I have here, is Kyle going to knock this other dude out, to knock Polo Reyes, the Mexican guy, the hometown guy, out in round one? Let's talk about Polo Reyes. All right, so again, this guy comes out there and he's a boxer. He wants to hit you with his right hand. The other thing to talk about Kyle Nelson is he has some grappling pedigree, or like he's a capable. I'm here to tell you, there's zero chance Kyle Nelson is going to shoot for more than one takedown, or like just even grapple at all. There's zero chance. Grappling is a tough style. Wrestling, shooting double legs, working someone to the ground is taxing. You think Kyle Nelson is coming into Mexico City on the company stipend flight like 7 days ahead of time at 145 pounds cutting weight, and he's ready to go 3 rounds? I'm going to grapple this guy in the first round. I'm going to do this. This fight is going to be a firefight in the first round. I need to figure out if Kyle Nelson is going to knock him out in the first round or not. Because if this fight gets out of the first round, the second round is all Reyes. But he also is having a massive cut to 145 pounds. I just need to just pass on this fight altogether. But the problem with Reyes is he got violently. Something happened in the first round with against Hazovic. I think it was one of the European cards, but he did something. He looked weird, and then the second round, Hazovic finished him violently. And then in the very next one, who was it? Drew Dober finished him violently, which prompted his 145 pound weight. Which prompted his 145 pound weight cut, because he's trying to extend his career. And I do think that he has been training at elevation, being acclimated to Mexico City. So if this fight, I've wrapped my mind around this fight for a while, trying to figure out what's going to happen. If this fight gets out of the first round, I cannot see a scenario where Reyes, all signs don't point to Reyes winning the fight. My question is, can Kyle Nelson knock him out in the first round? Because both of these guys are going to step in the octagon and they're going to throw. This is a card in Mexico. Mexicans like Mexican style. They're gonna step. I don't know. I put this fight does not last 3 rounds. I threw into that parlay I'm talking about with Sijara Eubanks. I put that into a parlay. Someone's getting knocked out. It could be in the first round. I have no idea, and I don't even want to get. If you live bet, if this fight gets out of the first round, bet Reyes. All right, next fight. I love this fight. All right, Jose Alberto Quinones versus Carlos Hauchin. Now, I saw this guy. Let me see. I forget how that fight ended. I watched this fight. And then he fought Nathaniel Wood. I think both fights. Anyways, Nathaniel Wood, this guy, this Quinones, he tried grappling in the first round because that's part of his game, but then he kind of gasses out. But he's very much long. He has long arms, but he got choked out in the second round because he did try grappling, and he has jiu-jitsu tattooed on his chest, but I don't think he's a tremendous jiu-jitsu player in MMA. It's not. I think he's got 1 round energy, and he may grapple a little bit, and he might be a little shot. But I do think he's also Mexican. He's probably been training at higher altitude. I think all the Mexican guys get together and they go higher. They train higher. My buddy, the guy who played at the Denver Stadium. He lived in the highlands of Guatemala, and then he went back to go play his sport, and he said his cardio's never been better. So take that. This guy's cardio might be a little better. I don't know. But what I really want to talk about, I love this guy, this Peruvian guy, Carlos Hauchin. He fought this guy, I think it might have been short notice, Barcelos. He fought him in Brazil. Just looking at this Barcelos guy. He's looks like a pretty good fighter. He's 3-0 in the UFC. Chris Gutierrez isn't good. Kurt, I don't think he's good either. Anyways, this guy's a good fighter. He has a wrestling pedigree, and obviously he's a Brazilian. If you're good, you're gonna have some sort of jiu-jitsu game. He is an exceptional boxer. I do believe he's a southpaw. And he kept distance because he was aware of the takedowns. He didn't want to get taken down because there is a deficiency in his ground game. But, excuse me. But he's a counter. It's almost like he kept distance and he like counterboxed. He was looking to counter this guy for a majority of the first round, and to protect himself from the takedowns. He wanted to create distance there. But he got acclimated to the fight. And next thing you know, this guy is touching this Barcelos guy up. And this guy is a fantastic boxer. Unfortunately, I think in the second round, he got clipped to the right hand. It'll happen. And he got put on his butt. And then I think the other Barcelos found full mount. And there is a difference in the jiu-jitsu ability. But this guy has heart. This was the worst stoppage I might have ever seen in the UFC. This guy was a +7, according to Tapology, he was a +700 underdog. This guy was going to get up and knock this Barcelos dude out in the third round. But apparently this ref just like randomly stopped it with like 7 seconds left. Anyways, I think this Hauchin, this is my guy, man. I don't care if he trained at Peru. I don't care if he's elevation acclimated. I think what's going to happen is this, what's his face? It's a pretty cool Tapology photo. Jose Alberto Quinones is gonna grapple in the first round, and my guy, Hauchin, is going to knock this dude out with his boxing with the left hand in the second round. I believe in that. That's not I want to be interested in the fight. That's actually a recommendation. This guy, whatever you want to do, he's going to knock him out in the second round. If you want to bet to win, if you want to bet the second round prop, the KO prop, I bet all three of those. I think that's going to happen. So you can do with that what you will. All right, Bravo Peterson. We saw Bravo again fight that Puelles guy who don't bet on. A reminder to just stay away from that fight. He got a left knee from Bandone, who's not good. Then he lost to this Caress. I don't know. I forget. I watched this fight again. I do a blog. Look at the blog because I recap these fights a lot better. I do this on memory. I remember this Alex Correia guy because Alex Carreras. He has like 22 UFC fights. It's incredible. I forget what happened. Look at the blog. Steve Peterson. Steve Peterson also had a bad weight cut today. He asked for the hoop or something, to strip his shorts down, but he ended up making weight. Peterson he wants to close the distance. He's a tough guy. I don't think that Bravo's a boxer and he has high cardio. I don't think he has the power to keep Peterson off of him, and I think Peterson gets in the clinch and wins this fight. The only caveat I have is the elevation. Peterson isn't acclimated. Doesn't look like he have a good weight cut. I'm passing on this fight. There's no real position here that is something that I really want to bet on. Irene Aldana. She's a boxer. I guess she lost to Raquel Pennington last time. Bethe Carrera. I remember watching that fight. Now, I have to be honest, I looked at this, I'm like -500. Like, I don't bet -500s. I don't know. It's not worth it to me. so I didn't really look too much into it. But this girl, Vanessa Melo, showed up today. She checks all the boxes for me of just not being a good UFC fighter. I don't know if this is right or wrong. She's good looking. I want my women to not be good looking. If I'm putting my money on them, going the octagon. She took the fight on short notice in Mexico City. She showed up to the weight cut today, 5 pounds overweight. She's got a problem. She just doesn't look good in this fight, and I put a good amount of money on the prop for knockout. I think this Irene Aldana lady, I know enough about her where she's a good boxer. She's a big favorite in this fight, and I think it was plus 290 or something, or 345. I think it was 345. I took the knockout prop. 3 rounds. Irene Aldana's talking about coming home. I think she's going to knock her out in this fight. I don't like seeing it, but you know what? You got to do what you got to do. If you have a bad weight cut, I'm going to look at it, and I'm going to adjust accordingly. That's a good bet. All right, Askarov. This is the third piece of the parlay. Sijara Eubanks, that Nelson Reyes catastrophe of a fight going less than 3 rounds, and Askarov. I can say with all certainty, this Brendan Moreno dude is a dork. He is the one that fought Sergio Pettis for 5 rounds, and he just looks like a dork. He's not good at anything. He can't wrestle. His only attributes where he's having success were he would catch Pettis' kicks, Sergio's, and then he would take him down. And if Sergio fell on his back or something, he would just try to get on top of him because he's one of those jiu-jitsu players that doesn't really have anything else. No boxing, no anything, man. This guy is awful. And then he fought. He's tough. I will give him this Alexander Pantoja fight. He was tough. I thought he was going to get knocked out in that fight, but he lasted all the way through. I just like this kid, man. I think he's better everywhere. I looked at this Rasul fight, his most recent fight. I think it's on YouTube. It's in Russian. My wife speaks Russian. I should have asked her because specifically in this next one, I thought I watched the Anthony Leon fight, but it might have been someone else. It was a Russian channel. Rasul. Anyways, this kid has skills on the ground, and I think they're better than this Brandon Moreno's skills. Just the way this guy talks in his pre-fight interviews, he's like, my experience beats his experience. This kid is not good, and I think the other kid is good, and I don't see any area where the other guy is not going to win this fight. They both made weight. Guy looked good on the scales today. Minus 160. This is one of those favorites that I actually think has value, and I bet him, and I put him in that parlay that I'm talking about, and it's a good bet. If this Moreno, even with the hometown crowd, I just don't think he's any good whatsoever. Apparently he's good at jiu-jitsu, I guess. God's honest truth, Carla Esparza, go to someone else. I didn't look at the fight all that much. I watched the fights. I don't have an opinion on this one. And unfortunately, I'm not here to lie to you. I wouldn't recommend betting on Stevens or Rodriguez. If I had to put my money on someone, I'd probably put it on Stevens. Stevens ticks all the boxes here. Not really ticks all the boxes. Stevens impresses me. That's a more accurate depiction of it. He has a right hand, obviously, and there is that narrative about like kickers and like Taekwondo guys, like Anthony Pettis, Nate Diaz was a big one. A lot of guys do this to Edson Barbosa. Like I thought Felder was going to really pressure him with his boxing because these kickers need space to unleash the kicks. I guess Tony Ferguson. I can't specifically mention this, but Tony Ferguson versus Edson Barbosa. Watch that fight, and that's basically this ideology of like these pressure boxers beat the kickers every time. Now, is Jeremy Stevens a pressure boxer? I don't know. I know he knocks a lot of people out. he needs to do work in order to work on his footwork in order to get in close and be the pressure boxer. He's never had a cardio issue. He's been out in Mexico City for about 3 years preparing for this. Apparently, he's leading the Alliance charge. He's holding a stress ball for the ceremonial weigh-ins. Rodriguez is weighing in, looking at everyone like, look at me, like I'm excited for the moment. Like Stevens is here to fight. I heard one story about Stevens was headlining a card back in the day, and Dana White found out he was in jail, and he went down with $150 and brought Ronda Rousey with him to get him out of jail so he could headline the card, and it didn't work. Stevens is here to fight. Now, he also went training with Tony Ferguson, and he said that Tony and him would train for 6.5 hours, watch Rocky IV, and then at 1 o'clock in the morning, they'd go for this massive run in the night. And then he told this one story about how he was running up a hill. Tony's like, get up that hill. And then he starts running, and Tony's behind him, chasing him, saying, don't let me catch you. Do you imagine how scary it is at 2 o'clock in the morning, being dead tired, exhausted, having Tony Ferguson chase you up a hill, saying, don't let me catch you? I feel like he's ready for this fight. I don't necessarily think he falls into that like pressure boxer stereotype or pressure boxer, not stereotype, ideology, which is a true ideology. He doesn't fall into that as enough to say like, bet this guy, like this is really good odds. But I just have a feeling. I don't work on feelings too often, but my gut, I work on gut a lot. My gut says bet Jeremy Stephens in this fight. I feel like he's going to get the knockout. I'm just going to watch it. I have no reason to be more interested. I usually just gamble just to be more interested in these fights. I obviously like to win. But my attention is this is the one fight on the card that doesn't need extra attention. It's not a very good card overall. I cannot stand, another aspect I want to say, I cannot stand that Paul Craig other dude fight. I don't know. It's not a good card. But this main event is going to be very entertaining. Make sure to check it out. Rodriguez could wheel kick him. Could be the hometown guy. But I think there's a good chance that Jeremy Stephens is about that life. Coming into Mexico City, he's been here for 3 years, getting climate acclimated. There's a good chance Jeremy Stephens knocks him out. But it's the fight guy, giving you guys what you need to know. Just to conclude here, the fights I think are a good bet are that Russian dude versus Brendan Moreno. Bet that guy. Inside the distance, I put that into a parlay. And Sijara Eubanks. I think those are pretty. I think it's a very good parlay. And also the Irene Aldana, that knockout prop. Listen, the girl didn't look good on the scale. The cerebral fluid around your brain is the last thing to get rehydrated. We saw this with Aspen Ladd and Jermaine Durandamy. And Aspen Ladd went to the scales looking awful, and we saw what happened. Excellent stoppage by Herb Dean for knowing the situation. I like good roughing. I don't want to see anyone get hurt in there. But hope you guys enjoy the Mexico City fights.